Hi Aces, welcome back to our Vegas Aces YouTube channel. My name is Angela Marie, and without further ado, here's Heather Ferris to take you through today's training on how to maximize your tips through exceptional customer service. Ready to unlock the secrets to maximizing your earnings as a casino dealer? In this full video, we'll walk through 15 powerful steps, from mastering customer service and game protection to honing your closing skills, that will help you create unforgettable player experiences and boost your tokes like never before. But before we get started, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell, so that way you'll always be notified of our latest videos and live streams. Now, on with the show.
The goal of this video is to teach you how to increase your income without having to change jobs. And where is that extra cash going to come from? From the customer in the form of tokes. Now, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you tipped a rude and insulting employee? My point being is, if you want a raise, then you're going to have to work on your customer service skills. I have 15 steps that will help you make money. And the first step is to establish a goal, which we've already done. Since your base pay isn't changing anytime soon, we'll need to focus on increasing your tokes, which means focusing on the customer and customer service. Now, thankfully, you don't have to make the player happy in order for them to tip you. Most players will give the dealer a toke if they feel that a genuine effort has been made. Just be sincere. Having an authentic interest in having a social interaction with the player is half the battle. And since dealers are the casino's frontline employees, we're in a unique position of having the opportunity to establish a rapport with the players. And if the player likes you, then they'll stay at your table longer and give you more tokes. But in this quest for more tokes, keep in mind that hustling can still result in termination. Dealers must avoid any form of solicitation from the player. Don't even talk about it unless you're answering a player's question about tipping. Now, I know this may seem a little strict, but I'll share a secret with you. The dealers in Las Vegas found a small loophole that seemed to work pretty well. However, it's right on the edge of the line, so be careful. When the player changes $100, give him $95 in red chips and $5 in $1 chips. Don't say anything. Just give it to the player like you do that with every buy-in. Which, by the way, you should do it for every buy-in. If the player asks you what the dollars are for, then you can say, that's in case you want to tip your cocktail waitress or your dealer, and leave it at that. The player must ask for it to be considered not hustling. However, if the player takes the dollar chips and doesn't say anything, then you can't talk about it either. This is the closest the dealer can get to hustling without actually hustling. So, our goal is to make more money by using customer service skills and a few dealing procedures to make your players feel more comfortable on your game. The point is to leave the guests feeling satisfied regardless of whether they won or lost. All that matters is that they want to return, and repeat customers means repeat tokes, which can add up to some serious cash. The first step was goal-oriented focus, where we learned that our goal is to increase tokes by using customer service techniques. The next 7 steps are going to focus on these techniques, starting with step number 2, which is attentiveness. Attentiveness means to be thoughtful of others, to give attention to others, to be polite, courteous, and considerate. The opposite of attentiveness is indifferent or unconcerned. Remember, we're not just in the casino business, we're in the people business as well. We get paid to cater to people and to make them feel comfortable enough that they want to return. Peter DeMoss Jr. once said, "It is not even whether or not the player's desired service can be fulfilled that is most important. What really counts is the attitude with which the guest is treated." Which means that it shouldn't matter if the player won or lost. What matters is how the dealer interacted with them. If you want to display good customer service when interacting with the customers, then be polite and respectful. Provide a friendly and positive atmosphere. If the guest is talking, then don't interrupt them. Actually listen to what they're saying. The ability to really listen to the customer is crucial for providing great customer service. If you feel that you have nothing to talk about, well, then ask some questions and see if you have anything in common. And by all means, if the player wants attention, then give them attention. Just remember to deal the cards and take their money in the process. Now, casinos have begun to realize that competing solely on marketing strategies and giveaway programs are becoming increasingly difficult. Casinos need to go back to using tactics that are guaranteed to be successful, such as establishing a return customer base. Repeat business is what keeps the money flowing, and the ability to make the guests feel comfortable and eager to return is our #1 winning strategy. The only way we can achieve this objective is if every employee in this organization changes their attitude to one where the customer is supremely important, and treating them in a way that makes them feel as welcomed and as comfortable as possible. If the customer enjoys hanging out with their friends at the casino, then they're less likely to visit any of the other nearby competition. Employees need to create an environment in which each decision and action that they make is designed to make the customer's experience better. You know, we all call casinos houses and our coworkers family, so it makes sense that we call our customers guests. And just as you would if you invited a guest into your home, you would treat that guest with the utmost respect, kindness, and courtesy. Now, it's not as hard as you might think. A simple smile, eye contact, saying hello, or giving them a sincere compliment are the kinds of things that it takes to treat the guests with dignity. It's also good to learn their name, although you know how picky some of our guests can be. Some people might request that you speak to them in a formal tone by calling them Mr. or Mrs. and then their last name. Others will be happy if you use their first name. To each their own, whatever makes our guests happy. Use the guest names when you can, and slowly you'll build a rapport with them. One of the many aspects of customer service is anticipating the guest's needs. So if the player pulled out a cigarette, then the dealer would hand them an ashtray. If the player is tipping the cocktail waitress or placing side bets, then keep an eye on their checks and make sure they have a steady supply of dollars. This means that when they win, instead of giving them 2 red checks, you would give them 1 red check and 5 $1 checks. This is especially important on craps. Always read the rail. Plus, it's a great technique for getting your game pace up. If the players are constantly asking you for change, this drags down your numbers and gets you fewer hands per hour. But if you're making change when you're paying people's bets, you don't have to stop the game, and that increases your hands per hour. Whenever the cocktail waitress comes by, make sure to announce that she's taking orders, so that way she doesn't skip any of the guests. If you're unsure about something, then refer to the golden rule and treat the guests as you would want to be treated. When the player arrives at your table, ask them for their player's card, so that way they could start being rated immediately. Make sure you pay attention to their average play, so that way you could correctly inform the floorman when he asks you for this information. Tracking your player's average play is good for game security as well, because if you notice that your player is betting $35 at the beginning of the hand, and then by the time you go to pay him, it's now $40, you know he's been past posting, and you should inform your floor immediately. When trying to decide how to anticipate your customer's needs, remember to pay attention to their body language, their habits, the terms they use to describe their problem, and think about anything else you could do to help them. The inches we need are everywhere around us. If we care when our competitors don't, then that's one of the 1,000 little things that we could do that would make it more likely for our guests to return, which means more tokes for you. Let the player know you care, but remember, don't go overboard. If the player tells you he wants all of your black chips, don't be so willing to accommodate the guest that you immediately give him all of your black chips out of your rack. Unless, of course, it's a robbery and he's holding a gun, then by all means, give him your black chips and your green chips and maybe your red chips too. Since customer service is such a large part of your job description, that means you must communicate with the players. Unlike some work environments, management actually encourages you to carry on a conversation with our guests, because the longer they stay on the table, the more money you make, which leads me to step number 3, communication skills. A unique opportunity exists for you to actually develop a solid rapport between yourself and the guest, which could be very profitable for you in the form of Tokes. Dealers and floormen have initial direct contact with the customer, which means that you are the first person the guest interacts with, and how you treat them sets the tone for the guest's entire stay. Your greeting will be the first thing the player hears, so be friendly, smile, and allow your personality to show through. Customers should be treated with kindness, warmth, tolerance, and understanding. Everyone should be welcomed. You want to create a positive and pleasant atmosphere in the casino. So you know that you have to talk to the customers, but what do you actually say to them? What do you guys talk about? Now, do what feels most comfortable for you. Tell stories or jokes, ask questions about their lives, or just get to know them. Become buddies. If the guest likes you, then they'll stay at your table longer, which means more Tokes for you. Some other things you can ask the guest about is where they're from. What do they plan on doing while they're in your city? One of my fellow dealers loved asking people trivia questions and riddles. So talk about what makes you happy or what interests you, and you'll find a group of people who agree with you. But this doesn't actually address what you should say to the guest. And if we're going to have an entire step devoted to communication, then we should go over some words and phrases that you can use while on the table. Greet the customer when they approach your table. Say, "Good morning," "Good evening," "Hello, how are you?" "It's nice to see you again, Mr. Johnson." "Welcome back, Mr. Johnson." "Welcome to the table." "It's so good to see you again." If you have a full table and you can't say hello, eye contact with a smile and a nod of acknowledgement works just as well. Remember to smile and use the player's name. If you don't know their name, then you can find that out by asking for their player's card. The dealer should always ask the player for their player's card anyway. So when they hand you the card, look at it, and now you know what to call them. During the game, you could say, "How are you enjoying your stay?" Wish the guests good luck when the player buys into your game. After you've given them your checks, and after you've finished shuffling, and before you start a new game. Remember to keep using the guest's name because this is an important part of building a rapport. Now, some professionally polite phrases that you could say is, "May I help you?" or "How can I help you?" "I appreciate that, thank you." Remember to say please, thank you, excuse me, yes ma'am, and no sir. Saying thank you, smiling, making eye contact, and using the guest's name are all valuable tools that can be used to make the guest feel welcome and warm. Be sincere when you do this. Don't force it or make it sound as though you've said it 1,000 times. Any greeting or acknowledgement can't be effective if it might be perceived in a negative way. These positive statements must be said with sincerity. I've worked at plenty of casinos where it was mandatory for the outgoing dealer to introduce the relief dealer before going on break. We'd say, "I'm going on break now. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Josh will be your dealer now. Good luck." If the outgoing dealer forgot to say that, then the incoming dealer needed to pick up the slack and introduce themselves. "Hi, I'm Heather, and I'll be your dealer for the next 20 minutes. Have fun and good luck." Keep in mind that the customer makes your job possible. If there are no customers, then there's no need to have dealers. Now that we've gone over some things that you should say, let's go over some things that you shouldn't say. Remember, we want to keep the players on the table, not drive them away. So don't display negative body language. Don't cross your arms, let out a big sigh, look or act disinterested, act exasperated or annoyed, and don't gang up on the players. Don't agree with players who criticize fellow guests. Don't say you're sorry. The casino never wants you to apologize to the player for losing a hand. When the dealer says sorry, they're admitting that they, hence the casino, is at fault, and that gives mischievous players a hook to start trouble. Here are some phrases that will drive guests away. "I don't have anything to do with your problem. You'll have to get help somewhere else." "I don't know, we've always done it that way." "That's not the way we do it here." "I can't help you with that. You'll have to go back to the pit where you came from. We can't comp that for you. You don't play enough money." "There's nothing I could do about it. That's company policy." I frequently hear dealers say, "How can I act happy when the players are losing?" Or, "I usually don't talk to the player if they're losing." This isn't a good strategy because silence just makes the player focus on losing even more. Tell the player a story or ask about their lives. Players want to be distracted if they're losing. Try to think of a way to distract them by talking about a different subject, topic, or telling interesting stories. Of course, try to stay away from any stories of players losing. If a customer is complaining or is negative, then try to keep a positive mindset while handling them. Empathize with the player's problem. Generally agree with their concerns and try to see things from their perspective. Provide hope and encouragement to the guest. Treat every guest with care. Don't wait until after they've tipped. Treat everyone the same, and then you'll notice that more people are tipping. I know I say they a lot, but there is no they. We are the they. We're all in this casino together. Try not to insult the guest or argue with them. Don't pick a fight, and if you're not sure if it will offend someone, then keep it to yourself and just stay silent. It's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. Abraham Lincoln. I know I just spent a lot of time telling you to have a conversation with your guest, but I also need to warn you not to go overboard. You're still in charge of your game, and you have to protect it. Make sure you don't get so involved with the conversation that you stop thinking about game security. Take note when someone is too talkative, or if they're trying to distract you. If this happens, then their partner might be trying to wait for an opening to take advantage of you. And not only do you have to keep the game protection in mind while having a conversation, but you also have to keep your hands per hour up as well. The game must keep moving. Now, the last thing we have to talk about on the subject of communication is what to do if there's a problem on your table and you have to call over the floor. Relay all of the information to your floor in a clear and concise manner. Keep it simple. Always be honest and leave nothing to doubt. Clearly and briefly describe to the floor what's going on. And please, don't go on and on and on about details that nobody cares about. Communication and customer service are such a large part of the job that it's important to start filtering your words. Think about your choice of words. How positive or negative are they? If you notice more negativity, then you'll have to start filtering what comes out of your mouth. Which brings us to step number 4, positive language. A casino's reputation depends largely upon the attitude of its dealing staff. Every dealer should promote a positive attitude by using positive language, because language is what people use when they create perceptions of you and your company. This is why a dealer's personality is so important when the casinos are considering which dealers to hire or not. It's a lot easier to teach someone blackjack than it is to teach them how to interact with people. Make it a habit to look for something on the guest that you sincerely like and then give them a compliment on it. You want to leave your customer with a good impression, so be polite, courteous, and pleasant to everyone. Positive words equal powerful results. If you're hungry for more information on this topic, then you might like this book written by Hal Urban. Every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses. A great casino is built one customer at a time. If you try to follow these steps with every guest, every time, then they'll leave the casino feeling satisfied and wanting to return. Small changes in how you utilize positivity will greatly affect how the player responds to you. If you're not always acting grumpy, then you'll notice that less people are being grumpy too. People tend to mirror the people around them, so start acting in a way that you wish to see in other people. If you're always looking for the bad in people or the negatives in a situation, then you will always find it, and you will always have something to complain about. So why not look for the positive instead? I guarantee you that if you search for the positive, you'll find that too. Obviously, there are going to be some offensive, hurtful players on your table, no matter how you act. But what really matters in this type of situation is how you react. How do you choose to respond? The way I chose to respond is I would be nothing but nice, friendly, and I would pretend that nothing they did bothered me. I wouldn't get mad, snide, sarcastic, or anything like that. This accomplishes a few things. The angry customer can't yell at you for being nice. This protects you from getting in a fight with the player and from getting written up for saying something foolish. And the best part of it all is acting this way usually infuriates the unpleasant guest because they didn't get a rise out of you. Just remember, they're trying to upset you, and they're trying to get a reaction from you. Don't give them what they want. The real art of conversation is not only to say the right thing at the right time, but far more difficult still is to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. Work on filtering yourself by increasing the positive statements and cutting back on the negativity, complaints, snide comments, and mean-spirited jokes. Watch your tone of voice. If you're going to use a patronizing or sarcastic tone, then why even waste the energy of trying to say nice words to begin with? You might as well just tell the player to go screw themselves. Even on large event days like Super Bowl and March Madness, where one side is against the other, try to stop yourself from poking fun or bantering with players who are rooting for the opposing team. If there's a dealer who's acting sour, depressed, negative, or mean, then they're going to scare the players away, and no players means no tokes. Nobody wants to be on a table where the dealer is complaining about how horrible their life is, how unlucky they are, and they certainly don't want to hear a series of unfortunate events. They have Netflix for that. In the casino industry, it's normal to see customers become angry, frustrated, or overwhelmed, and it's the dealer's job to handle these situations using customer service skills. One of these skills is also step number 5, patience, and customer service requires a lot of patience. We all have stories of customers who have insulted us, blamed us for the money they've lost, or have made us angry. In this industry, it's going to happen. When a situation like that occurs, the dealer is going to need patience, but that's a lot easier said than done. What if you're not a naturally patient person? What do? As soon as you realize that things are getting heated and the conversation has escalated, take a deep breath and focus on counting to 10. This will give you enough time for the rational portion of your brain to kick in instead of reacting purely on the fight or flight response. Don't lose your temper. Remain calm and composed. Keep in mind that people naturally tend to mirror one another, so if you're level-headed and patient, then the player will eventually start mirroring your behavior. Tact and diplomacy must be exercised at all times, even in the face of abusive behavior. When the player is upset, the dealer's goal would be to try and calm the guest down. Sincerely listen to what they're saying and take the time to try and figure out what the player wants. Attempt to understand what their problem is. Try to see things from their perspective and then offer a degree of sympathy. If their problem isn't related to losing money, then try to offer a few solutions. Most of the time, disgruntled players just want someone to listen to them, and you would be surprised by how many irate customers settle down once they've had your attention and empathy. Problems are opportunities in disguise, and opportunities can mean more tokes. Ignore the noise. This is a great customer service skill to have since it will save you from many unwanted fights and unpleasant write-ups. Noise can be anything from naysayers to drunks to people who are trying to purposely upset you, or just a case of bad luck. I realize the Las Vegas culture is a bit different than other places. Las Vegas is full of drunk people and it's totally normal. In other places, drunk people are rare. So if you live in one of these rare places, then please do me a favor, and when you hear me say the word drunks, just replace it with the word approaching intoxication. Now, drunk players require a little more patience since they tend to throw around insulting language and disparaging remarks. As long as their behavior isn't abusive, extreme, aggressive, or personal, then the dealer must exhibit some tolerance. Some dealers respond to these people by treating them as a challenge. Others display overwhelming kindness and courtesy as a defensive tact. The dealer should never get in a disagreement with the player. But saying that is sort of unrealistic. It happens to all of us. Since we can't stop arguments from happening, let's try to stop them from ever starting. I know just the solution to this problem. Let's duct tape the player's mouth closed. I'm being told I can't do that. Well, since we can't change the player's attitude, I guess that means we need to change our attitude instead. If a couple players are in a heated discussion amongst themselves, don't take sides. In fact, don't get involved at all. Just stay out of it. If the floorman makes a decision in favor of the player, don't take this personally. The floor isn't trying to make you look bad. Sometimes a customer service relation decision needs to be made without regard of the dealer and whether they were correct or incorrect. Never take the game personally. If the house is losing, don't get competitive and uptight that the player is beating you. This isn't a competition, it's your job. If there's a dispute and the floor needs to be called over, then don't lie about what happened. Be honest. Arguments are going to happen because they always do, and there's nothing anyone can do to avoid it. So the best thing to do if you find yourself in this situation is to tell the truth. If the dealer has an argument with the player, they will always come out looking bad. If you notice that you start to raise your voice above the normal conversational level, immediately stop yourself and call over the floor so they can handle the situation. Stay quiet, especially if you're mad. The last thing you want to do is open your mouth and get yourself into more trouble. If the player sits down at your table and they're already in a bad mood, then instead of waiting for a fight to happen, try to distract them by talking about an upbeat, positive subject. Disconnect the guest from their foul mood by taking them to a better place. For example, if the player is wearing a sports team jersey, then start a conversation about how great the team's been doing. Try and turn a potentially bad situation into an opportunity, therefore increasing potential tokes. You may have heard this before, but we're in the entertainment business. All of you dealers are the stars of the show. You are the showmen, the actors, the ones that entertain the guest. And as you entertain, amuse, and distract the occupied gambler, you keep your happy guest at the table longer, which means more tokes for you. And that leads me to step number 6, acting skills. If you can make your table fun, regardless of whether the players are winning or losing, then this creates a loyal customer base, which means repeat tokes. Any person with good customer service skills also has good acting skills, because they need to maintain their cheery disposition in the face of grumpy, disgruntled guests. It is time for those who control our industry to realize that we are in the entertainment industry, show business. Walt Disney knew this when he built his empire, and are we not in adult Disneyland? Are we not in the business of making a buck by creating a fantasy and providing entertainment for our guests? We tend to forget this, and we cannot. There's too much competition. Peter DeMoss. Entertain the guests with jokes, comedy, stories, or anecdotes. If you feel like you can't entertain the guest in this way, then figure out what you feel comfortable with and let your personality shine through. Since you have to be on this table for 8 hours per day, do what is fun and enjoyable for you. Acting skills come in handy when you have players on your table who you don't like, or are grouchy, having a bad day, are natural complainers, or they're just losing a lot of money. Dealers see so many customers that it's inevitable that you're going to come across some of these people. Acting skills will help you get through the worst of it. You don't have to like everyone you meet. You just have to be a good actor and pretend that you do. Now, dealers already gossip about their players while on break. That's normal. But what if you actually try to help each other out? You could learn from each other and share useful information about your players. If someone found a good way of handling a player, then share it with your coworkers who are having trouble with that guest. Yes before no. It's important that we display a culture of yes to the guest. This doesn't mean that we say yes to everything they ask for. It just means that we need to have a default mindset of agreement instead of automatically saying no to everything. So if an old man sits down at your table and wants to talk your ear off, then act like what he's saying is interesting and actually listen to him, instead of acting put off or annoyed that he's on your table. If it's not immoral, illegal, harmful, or goes against game protection, then we'll most likely do it for our guests. Remember that we're here for the customer, not the other way around. The player doesn't owe us anything. If you demonstrate good customer service to everyone all of the time, regardless of who tips you, then over a period of time, you'll notice an increase in tokes. That doesn't mean that every player is going to tip you, but you still need to act appropriately towards all players. What's one thing that actors have in common? They all look good. That's because they know how important it is to have a pleasing visual impression, especially women. Some men will stay at your table all day, just for a chance to have a conversation with a beautiful woman. This is usually accompanied by more tokes, and that's why Las Vegas has so many party pits. Actors work on having an outstanding stage presence, and this means presenting themselves in a professional manner. A professional appearance promotes professional behavior, and this not only includes good grooming, but good posture as well. Keep this in mind because everything that we're teaching you is actually a great way to prepare for life. If you take pride in yourself, then this shows through to the customers based on the service that you provide. It's professional to have an attitude of understanding and friendliness. And if you start acting like this more frequently, then you'll be surprised by the warm response you'll receive from players. Acting more friendly, professional, and with a better attitude helps establish relationships with our guests. And this keeps them coming back time and time again. And that's our goal, to have these well-known tippers keep coming back to give us more tips. This isn't going to happen if the dealer is acting miserable or if they're oversharing their problems. Dealers should always shield their inner turmoil from the guest. The guest doesn't need to know all of your problems, so please don't overshare. No one needs to know how devastated you are that your goldfish just died or that your cat ate the fish's body before you could bury it at sea. If you're still confused on how to act and when, then this should help. If the player is acting angry, then the dealer should act concerned. Remember to listen to the player, and if he's overburdened, then sympathize with what he's going through. And if you're ever in doubt, remember the golden rule and treat the guests as you wish to be treated. Customer service is tough, and the best customer service reps know that they can't let a heated guest force them to lose their cool. A customer service rep needs to be strong in order to support their customer who thinks their whole world is falling apart. And this takes us to step number 7, a calming presence. When the customer is angry or upset, the dealer needs to be strong and stay calm. Nothing is ever gained by winning an argument and losing a customer. It's not about who is right, it's about what is right. Who's right or wrong is irrelevant and unnecessary when it comes to what is the right decision that gives us the best outcome for the situation at hand. A calming presence means having the ability to stay calm and in control when things are stressful or a bit hectic. Of course, it's crucial that the dealer's in control of their table at all times. And being in control of your table means being in control of your players as well. This is different from needing something and calling over your floor. So, if the player is refusing to take his cell phone off the table, stay calm, be in control. Notify him that he has no choice, and if he continues to refuse, that's when you call over the floorman. This is one of the 1,000 scenarios that could possibly happen to you. But whatever happens, remember to stay calm, be strong, don't freak out, and don't make a bad situation worse. Your job will be much easier if you have the ability to read the customer, which is why this is step number 8. If you don't have this ability naturally, there are several video tutorials on YouTube that you could watch. That is, if you could stop watching those funny cat videos instead. Reading the customer means that you'll need to look and listen for subtle clues about their current mood, patience level, personality, and wants. Then you'll need to use this information to determine how you should interact with them. So that way, when they leave this place, they'll do so with a positive impression of it. It's essential that we provide a personalized experience to our guests, and the ability to read people will help us do that. If you want to be really good at this, then it's good to know the basic principles of behavioral psychology. It's also helpful if you could respect the player's wishes. If you read the customer and you could tell that they just want the dealer to be silent, then don't go talking a mile a minute telling the player about your entire life story. Respect the player's wishes and deal to him in silence. Every person is different, and some players enjoy you sharing your experiences, while other players don't even want to know how your day was, let alone hear you talking. That's why reading the customer is so important. You could see a lot just by looking. Notice what is actually going on around you and be curious. By always raising our level of awareness, we'll be able to see things that we didn't before, and this will make it easier for us to read the player. You won't know the player is grumpy if you don't look up and see that frown on his face. Really notice the things around you. Be alert and awake. Even listening helps raise our level of awareness. If you have the ability to read people, then this cuts down on a lot of communication mistakes that end up costing time, money, and sometimes even the guest. The last 8 steps were centered on customer service and how to treat the guest. Now we're going to concentrate more on dealing procedures and other various topics. We'll start with step number 9, knowledge of the product. Our product is dealing casino table games, and the most important #1 rule when it comes to dealing is game security. Table protection should always be at the forefront of our minds, and everything we do should be centered on protecting the game because that is the most important aspect of your job. Customer service comes second to that. Game protection not only includes protecting the bank, but it also means that you have a good, solid knowledge of the rules of the game. You might be asking yourself, well, how does this make me more tokes? Well, a good example of how game protection can provide dealers with more tokes is hands per hour. If the dealers follow game security and work on their table protection, then one of the things that will happen is that your hands per hour will go up. If you deal more hands per hour, then this means that you'll get more tokes per hour, hence a raise. Like I said before, good game protection means having a good, solid knowledge of the game. Dealers should know the rules of the game better than the players do. If the dealer is weak on the game, or they haven't dealt it in a long time, or if they just jump on the game because, they don't know it and hey, it's a good way to learn, right? Wrong. This is awful for game security, and the only thing that will happen is you'll make a lot of mistakes, or you'll give the players the opportunity they need to take advantage of you. And when players want to take advantage of you, they could come up with some pretty creative ways of doing it. Some of the less creative ways is they would lie about the rules of the game. They would try to convince the dealer that they actually won a bet when they didn't. And when the dealer does make a mistake in the player's favor, they'll take the money without a second thought. Responding with a sense of urgency is the ante to play, which means don't fake it until you make it. Not when it comes to dealing table games. If you want to deal a game, then make sure you learn the game right now instead of waiting until they put you on the table. You can learn a game as soon as your next workday. On your break, instead of going to the break room, go to the game that you want to learn and sit there and actually learn it. Ask the dealer how to play and watch them as they deal. When you feel comfortable, ask the floor if you could be shadowed on that game. Now keep doing this until you know the game and you feel comfortable enough that you could deal it alone. Not only should dealers have extensive knowledge of the games that they deal, but they should also be knowledgeable about the property that they work at. It's always good to be able to provide help to the guest. If you don't know anything about your property, then how can you answer a question that the guest asks you? Every dealer is responsible for knowing about the property. You should be able to respond to normal questions such as the location of shops, bathrooms, certain pits, elevators, exits, and the cage. Not only is it good to know the location of everything, but it's also good for the dealer to know what activities are going on at the casino. Is there a concert or an event going on? Players often ask about showtimes and other event information. If the player asks you something you don't know the answer to, then call over your floorman and ask him. How you manage your time while dealing on the game could determine whether your toke count goes up or down. That topic is next on the list, which is step number 10, time management skills. Now, I realize I spent half of this video telling you that you need to spend time interacting with the customer. But on top of that, I'm asking you to keep your hands per hour up, which means keep the game moving as fast as possible while still talking to the player. Getting your hands per hour up doesn't necessarily mean dealing faster because this can lead to sloppiness and mistakes. It's the dealer's job to deal as many accurate hands per hour as they're capable of. Sometimes this can be a challenge when you have slow, old, grumpy people at the table. If you do have slow people on your table, then first use body language to move them along. I would hold my hand out, palm facing up and open, and point right at their bet. I would also try to grab their attention with eye contact and a quick nod towards their hand. If the player is still confused because, hey, let's face it, we give them alcohol, then I would say, "Sir, it's your turn," or "What would you like to do there, sir?" This usually keeps the game moving. If you're able to achieve a high amount of hands per hour while still connecting with the guests, then you'll see a noticeable increase in your tokes. Another dealing procedure that can increase your tokes is shuffling. I explained how dealing more hands per hour will also get you more tokes per hour. Well, you're not going to get any tokes if you're shuffling at a snail's pace. Work on getting your shuffling speed up, and this will increase your toke numbers. If you need to, you could practice at home on an ironing board while watching TV. Dealers are just another cog in the machine, and everyone has to be on time in order for it to work like a well-greased machine. That's why it's important for dealers to be punctual and dependable, not only getting to work on time, but also arriving back from break on time as well. This is important, so please remember to be on time. The last time management skill that we're going to talk about is answering the customer in a timely manner. Usually the reason why we're late getting back from our break is because the player stopped us with a question. So let's talk about how to answer that question quickly, so that way you could still be on time. If you know the answer, then you could quickly tell the guest, point them in the right direction, and be on your way. Don't sit there and engage in small talk. If the guest has a million questions, or if they have one of those personalities where they could sit there and talk for 3 hours without stopping, then direct them to the security booth. If the guest asks a question and you don't know the answer to it, then direct them to the closest foreman. The reason why employees take so much time answering questions is because they don't know the answer to that question. And instead of finding someone who does, they'll sit there for 5 minutes trying to think of an answer, second-guessing themselves, and in the end, the guest is more confused than when they begin with. We could save a lot of time if we just direct the guest to someone who knows the answer. Your body language and facial expressions persuade people whether you know it or not. And this brings us to step number 11, persuasion skills. I know that sounds more like marketing and pushing products, and it does have a little bit to do with that. But persuasion skills also means realizing that our body language can either be inviting to the guest or push them away. A great example of this is when you're standing on a dead game. You'll want to display body language that will persuade the player to come over and join you. You can accomplish this if you place your hands on the table with your arms extended out and to the side. This opens up your body and makes you more inviting to the guest. Always face your table and never turn to the side to crossfire with another dealer, or turn your back on the bank. When standing on a dead game, you'll want to observe the 10-5-10 rule. If the player is walking towards the table and they're 10 feet away, then make eye contact with them. Making eye contact with players is an essential part of getting them to sit down at your table. As you make eye contact, the goal is to have the guests make eye contact with you as well. You want that initial connection because this makes it more likely for the player to come sit down at your table. If the player is 5 feet away, then acknowledge them with either a nod or a greeting. Remember, if you're standing on a dead table with no players, then there is no one there to tip you, and this is no way to make money. You're only hurting yourself and your fellow coworkers when you stand on a dead game looking grumpy, avoiding eye contact, ignoring the guests as they walk by, or basically just running off the money. You want to be approachable. If someone has a question, then they should feel comfortable enough to walk up to your table and ask. Be as welcoming and inviting as possible. Dealers should try to remove as much of the natural intimidation as they can. How? By what we just talked about. By keeping your arms at your side and your hands on the table as you smile and make eye contact with the guest as they walk by. Just continue doing this and players will walk up to your table in no time. As we said, your facial expression and body language can also persuade players to come to your table or quickly cross the room, just to get away from that contorted grimace that you have on your face. Remember, don't fold your arms, scowl, make faces at the guest, be intimidating, indifferent, not looking at anyone at all, acting disinterested, answering questions begrudgingly, or doing anything else that would purposely run the players off. This next part is where the marketing comes in. When you're on craps, try and persuade players to bet on the hard ways. If you're on a different casino table game, repeatedly ask if they want to play the side bet. Now, this does one of two things. If the player is betting on the hard ways or the side bet, then they're probably going to need dollars. If the dealer gives the player a steady supply of dollar chips, then the player will be more likely to use those chips to tip the dealer. And the second thing is, when the player is betting the side bets, they're more likely to tip the dealer on that bet as well. When the player gives the dealer a toke, use this as an opportunity to turn everyone's attention to you and the fact that you're getting tipped. Say, "Thank you, sir, for the tip. I really appreciate it." And then tap the check on the bank a few times before dropping it into your toke box. When the dealer acknowledges the player when they've been tipped, then this alerts the other players that tipping is possible and appreciated. This is a great way to get more tokes without hustling. Don't go overboard trying to persuade the players to tip you. Whatever decision the player makes, they need to make it on their own. All monetary decisions must be made without any interference from the dealer. The dealer must never play the player's hand for them, and they should never tell the player how to spend their money. Don't hustle your tokes. People who seek to improve what they do, whatever it is they choose to do, will never get left behind. This is because they choose to invest in their skills and improve in areas where they're inept at. This brings us to step number 12, willingness to learn. This is an important skill to have because you need to be willing to learn and apply what you've learned to your daily tasks. This will help you achieve your goals and grow to be the best version of yourself. Each dealer should possess enough personal pride to be the best they can be. Expand on the skills you already learned and learn new games, or try to improve on the games you already know. Be willing to learn from your mistakes or from other people's mistakes. Being willing to learn means working on improving yourself little by little every day. So if your boss asks you to learn a new game, say yes and be willing to actually learn it. The more games you know, the more valuable you'll be to the casino. Obsessed with finding a better way. When trying to better yourself, it's not something that you could do on the side or when you get time. Instead, it should be always on the forefront of your mind. It should always play a key role in every decision you make here at work, but also at home. That's why the word obsessed is used in the phrase. Every time you make a mistake or a customer complains about you, instead of getting upset, use it as an opportunity to learn. Figure out what went wrong and see what you could do differently in the future. And don't feel bad that it happened. Instead, see it as a chance for improvement. If a customer is unhappy with your service or the business, then don't just stop going. Statistics show that the average business will never hear from 96% of its unhappy customers. For every customer that complains, there are usually 26 customers who had the same problem but didn't complain. And what is the biggest complaint among all the customers? What makes them leave and never return? 68% of customers say that they stop using a business's service because of the employee's attitude of indifference or annoyance towards the customer. So instead of getting upset with the customer complaints, let's use it as an opportunity to learn from them. If we actually listen to what the customer is saying, then we can analyze the problem and think of ways to improve ourselves and our casino. If the disgruntled customer who complained doesn't see any improvement on their next visit, then it's likely that the casino will never see them again. Willingness to learn also means that as we go through these 15 steps, if you notice that you can improve on a few of them, or a lot of them, then be willing to learn and grow. But as with everything, you have to have the motivation and desire to put in the effort of improving yourself. We won't see success unless we step out of our comfort zone and try something new. Being a casino dealer is nothing like working in an office cubicle all day. Yes, we deal the same games over and over again, but every day is different and we're always meeting new people. Because of our profession, we see a high number of surprising incidents. And that's one of the reasons why dealers have the best stories, because we see the craziest things. Since shocking circumstances are so normal in this industry, we have an entire step dedicated to it. Step number 13, the ability to handle surprises. When a surprise happens, we typically say or do the first thing that comes to mind without thinking about the ramifications. and that usually results in undesirable consequences. It's very difficult to train yourself to stop reacting or to put a filter on your mouth so you don't say the wrong thing at the wrong time. It's not the surprise, but how you handle the surprise that matters. Try not to react at first until you've given yourself enough time to process what's going on. For example, don't laugh hysterically while pointing at the high roller who just did something incredibly embarrassing. That kind of reaction will get you in trouble the second the high roller hears you laughing. There are so many different scenarios that happen in a casino that we would be sitting here talking about it for the next decade. What matters is that we handle these surprises with a level of dignity and professionalism instead of laughing, gawking, or pointing like we normally would. Customer service can throw you a curveball, and sometimes your problem isn't covered in the company guidelines or the guest isn't reacting the way you thought they would. Whatever the case may be, remember to keep your cool, filter your words, act like a professional, and if the situation is too much to handle, then call over your floorman and he'll either help you out or you guys will have a great story to share in the future. Next on the list is step number 14, tenacity. And what does tenacity mean? It means persistence, determination, grit, stubbornness, patience, and having resolve. It means having a great work ethic and a willingness to do what needs to be done without cutting corners. Dealers need a lot of tenacity in order to do well and stay in this industry for a significant amount of time. Not only do you need to be able to deal with difficult players, but at the same time, you have to stay positive, keep your math straight, and be able to protect your game while following policies and procedures. And the hard part is to keep going and to do this day after day for years. A common saying amongst dealers is that you need a thick skin in order to stay in the industry. Some people have a tough skin and some people tend to get jaded. But look at it this way. Doesn't having a nasty, rotten table make you appreciate those fun, enjoyable tables even more? Casino dealers don't produce goods or any tangible items that we could give the customer. The only thing that we have to offer them is entertainment, in the form of playing a game and interacting with the dealer. This makes dealing casino table games a service-oriented business, where the ability to handle people is of the utmost importance. In order to be good, the dealer will need to be consistent with valuable customer relations, a friendly personality, and efficient dealing skills. This can be hard, but if you remember that customers are people and you try to communicate with them in a genuine way, then this will make it easier for you. We finally come to the last step, step number 15, closing ability. Now, just to be clear, closing ability is not the same thing as closing sales, or any of those other related terms. We are not closing on a sale, we are closing on a person. When the guest leaves our casino, they should feel that their time and money were well spent. It shouldn't matter if the player won or lost. They should have had such an enjoyable interaction that they want to come back regardless. Being able to close on a customer means that at the end of your interaction, the guest will leave satisfied with a feeling that everything had been taken care of. That's the key. If the guest lost money, but they still leave looking forward to their next visit, then we've accomplished what we've set out to achieve. So what exactly do you do to achieve closing ability? Use the previous steps that I just provided you to make the customer feel as though you enjoyed their company and you're looking forward to seeing them again. This includes entertaining them, asking the player about themselves, and using positive language. Following these steps will make the customer feel more appreciated and more willing to come back again and again. When you take the time to make sure that the guest doesn't have any pending problems or issues that need to be resolved, then you've demonstrated a good closing ability. Your willingness to help the customer will show them 3 noteworthy things about you. 1, that you care about getting it right. 2, that you're persistent in getting things done. And 3, that you're doing it all for the guest. Never be the reason why a guest doesn't come back. All you're doing is losing potential tippers. Now you know the secrets of giving yourself a raise. In this lecture, we examine many methods, actions, and strategies for how to increase your tips. This knowledge will get your players to tip you more, stay on your table longer, and it will keep them coming back as repeat tipping customers. Word of mouth is still one of the most influential marketing campaigns that we can use. So if a customer likes you, they may tell a dozen of their friends, who will then become a dozen new potentially tipping customers. Now, if you didn't get all of this, don't stress out. Just try your best, and remember, perfection is not attainable. But if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence.
That does it for today's show. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. Do you want to see our content 5 days early? Subscribe to us on Patreon, where we give our patrons exclusive early access and coach new dealers on how to get into the industry. The folks on the screen right now are our Patreon producers. Every single name is a person in the world who supports this channel, so we can keep going. And we're so grateful to them that they've allowed us to go on this really remarkable journey. Thanks everybody for being a part of this. Also, our business helps casino game inventors with developing their game, bringing their idea to fruition and onto the casino floor. If you have a casino game you want to develop, email us. You can find a link to our email in the description below. Just a quick reminder, Vegas Aces is supported by viewers like you. Click that hype button to help us get our content out there and grow as a channel. The hype button is only available in some countries, so if you don't see it, it might not be available in your area. Or you can donate. Donations make it possible for all of these videos to be brought to you for free. If you think this video is worth more than $0, then please donate the amount you feel it is worth by clicking the link in the description below. If you can't afford to financially support us, then help us update our World Toke Board. This shows the toke numbers for casino dealers around the world. But we can't update these numbers if people don't contribute. You can anonymously send us your toke numbers via our toke line or by emailing heather@vegas-aces.com. Thank you for watching. Please join us for our next video. We have a new video every Thursday. And if you're looking for even more content, please check out our other videos here on the screen. We also offer interview transcripts, flashcards, dealer instruction manuals, the world's first toke board, and so much more, all at our website, vegas-aces.com. You can find all of these links in the description below. Until the next time, stay lucky, Aces.